Exposed. 3 haunted lake house tales of sinister secrets and unexplained terrors revealed. Emma stood at the edge of the lake, watching the sun dip below the horizon, painting the sky a disturbing mix of crimson and gold. The quaint lake house looked charming, but beneath its facade lurked the chilling whispers of the unknown. She had moved here to escape the chaos of her past, only to find herself engulfed in new, unfathomable horrors. As night enveloped the house, a suffocating stillness descended. The warm smiles of her neighbors felt like a thin veneer, one that cracked with each questioning glance. They meant well, bringing baked goods wrapped in eerie enthusiasm, but Emma sensed shadows behind their curious eyes. Her children, Alice and Lily, giggled at bedtime stories, oblivious to the oppressive silence creeping through the walls. But as Emma tucked them in, a haunting melody flitted through the room's soft whispers that curled like tendrils in her mind, beckoning her outside. She forced herself to ignore it, assuring her trembling heart that it was just the wind. Yet, when she peered out the window, the darkness thickened, transforming familiar shapes into sinister figures. "It's just the trees," she whispered to her girls. But they frowned, their little faces stricken with fear. "Mommy, can we hear the kids?" they asked, voices trembling. The kids. They claimed to hear laughter outside, joyful giggles piercing the silence, as if children played just out of sight, elusive phantoms within the shadows. Emma shook her head vigorously, dismissing the folklore of the keeper of the lake. There were no ghosts. Her focus was on building a new life, free from the memories that haunted her. Better to believe in reality than be ensnared by silly tales. As the days passed, things grew worse. The damp smell of rotting wood invaded their home as uncanny occurrences piled up. Doors creaked open on their own, unyielding coldness seeped through the walls, and nightmares racked her children as sleep. And those smiles from the townsfolk? They began to feel like an insidious sort of hunger, prying deeper into her soul with each visit. One foggy morning, panic struck when Lily went missing while playing near the lake. Emma's heart slammed against her ribcage as dread flooded through her. "Lily!" she screamed, the word echoing uselessly against the stifling fog. The water shimmered unnaturally, as if the lake itself had come alive, mocking her. Her throat tightened with desperation, but that eerie silence strangled her cries. "Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Beneath the surface of the lake, a truth lay hidden, invisible yet potent, like a coiled snake ready to strike. The whispers grew louder, wrapping around her like a noose, dredging up memories of family tales. The lake, a keeper of dark secrets, exacting its toll on those who dared to disturb its depths. With each desperate call for her daughter, Emma felt the ground shift under her, the line between reality and folklore warping uncomfortably. What lay beneath those calm waters? What price would she pay to save her child? As shadows deepened, Emma's resolve began to splinter, and with it, the haunting realization that trust could be just as treacherous as the lure of the lake itself. Where was Lily? And were these friendly faces genuinely there to help? Or had they been waiting for this moment all along? The night held its breath, the lake shimmered ominously, and Emma's heart raced with terror yet to be unleashed. The chilling fog wrapped around Emma like a shroud, tightening its grip. She couldn't breathe. Where was Lily? The water shimmered beneath the ghostly light, stretching out infinitely as if it wanted to swallow her whole. Lily! The sound of her voice was swallowed whole, only to return as a mocking whisper. Panic clawed at her throat, the acrid taste of fear pooling on her tongue. She bolted toward the lake's edge, heart pounding in her chest. The stillness was unbearable, a silence packed with dread that pressed against her eardrums. Every moment stretched as she caught glimpses of movement at the periphery of her vision, something shifting in the shadows, something dark and hungry lurking beyond the trees. A strained giggle from the depths of the fog made her blood run cold. It echoed around her, callous and unwelcoming, almost teasing. "Lily?" No answer. Just that eerie laughter dancing dangerously close to her sanity. "Mommy! Help!" The voice was faint, a delicate thread straining against the oppressive nothingness. It was unmistakably her daughter, chirping from somewhere within the murk. Emma's resolve solidified into pure adrenaline. She sprinted toward the sound, arms reaching out, straining against panic. As she drew closer, the fog thickened, swirling around her like waves crashing over a rocky shore. She gasped, feeling icy water lapping at her feet. Had she stepped in? No, the water felt wrong, boiling, clammy, an oily skin of dread creeping up her ankles. She shuddered but pressed forward, her heart now a frantic metronome of desperation. "Lily!" The whisper returned, louder and decidedly separate. It twirled around her like a malefic lullaby, dragging her deeper into the abyss of the lake's embrace. Her instincts screamed at her to turn back, to run away from the insidious charm. With trembling hands, she searched through the haze of the fog and the swarm of disembodied murmurs. Then she saw them, flickering shadows among the trees, pale figures that had once been children, now animated in a dance held within the confines of the shadows. Their distorted faces wore wide, empty grins, their eyes hollow voids. "Join us," she asked. "Just beyond," one of the specters exclaimed, its voice a gnarled mockery, a grotesque imitation of innocence. Emma's breath hitched. "No, where's my daughter?" The laughter crescendoed, reverberating against the trees, sending a shiver down her spine. She stumbled backward, looking over her shoulder, the lake glimmering fluently beneath a spell, trying to lure her in. Gritting her teeth, Emma raised her chin, forcing herself to move forward. "I will find her," she screamed against the mocking sound, pushing against the weight of the shadows and the taunting whispers. Then, sudden clarity struck. A memory, the tale that the townsfolk whispered about the lake, a lurking entity guarding the dreams of children. Could it have taken Lily? Just then, she noticed a faint flash of something, a splash, a flicker of blonde hair just under the water's surface. Her heart lurched. "Lily!" Emma dove into the frigid depths, which felt like 1,000 icy needles stabbing into her skin. Dark water engulfed her, wrapping her in a cruel liquid embrace, but no voice echoed back. No laughter pierced the silence. Panic surged as she opened her eyes beneath the water, straining against the darkness that threatened to swallow her whole. All she could see was the bottom, the wicked chaos swirling up from the depths, beckoning her to join an eternal dance of despair. And then, as if in response to her resolve, a brilliant flash illuminated the abyss, a hole in the darkness that pulsed with desperate light. It beckoned. Emma swam hard, clinging to hope, desperately holding her breath. But what emerged from the depths was something she never could have predicted. A truth that would shatter her world completely. Was it Lily? Or something far worse? With shadows swirling around her, the question lingered: what had the lake truly taken? And what price would she have to pay to uncover the truth? Emma's lungs ached as she fought against the pull of the mysterious light. With each stroke, the darkness seemed to tighten around her, as if the lake itself wanted to keep her at its cold, murky bottom. Heart racing and resolve waning, she pushed harder, summoning whatever strength she had left. Then, with a surge of adrenaline, she broke the surface, gasping for air. The fog clung heavily still, wrapping her in a suffocating embrace. She squinted through the haze, the moon overhead doing little to pierce the oppressive gloom. "Lily?" she called again, voice trembling and weak. The silence mocked her, filled with none of the joyful giggles or playful splashes she longed to hear. In the distance, shadows shifted among the trees again. Emma winced, the oppressive atmosphere clawing at her mind. The silhouettes danced with an unsettling grace, beckoning her closer with skeletal arms. "She's waiting. Join us," the voices taunted, a haunting harmony that sent shivers spiraling down her spine. "Stop it," Emma shouted, feeling the weight of impossible despair pressing down. She needed to focus. "Lily!" Suddenly, she spotted something. A flash of yellow, like a sunflower in a field of night. Her heart surged with hope. Lily! She cried again, transfixed by the sight of what could only be her daughter's shirt. It was there, floating just at the edge of the water where mist swirled with an unnatural glee. Trembling, Emma surged forward, eager. But with every step, the figures around the trees grew larger, their laughter sharper, no longer innocent but filled with malice. Leave her be. She belongs to us now. They spoke with cruel glee. Emma felt fear creep in, snakes of ice wrapping around her spine. Would they take her too? Or worse, let something far more sinister get to her? She hesitated, uncertainty flooding her. But the sight of the bright yellow blossomed hope like warmth inside her chest. With a defiant scream, she waded into the lake again, plunging forward. The water felt warmer now, hugging her body in a sickly sweet embrace, trying to soothe her, to calm her fear. Emma reached out with trembling hands and grabbed the fabric. It was soft against her fingers, but dread clawed at her once more as she pulled it closer, revealing what lay beneath the water's surface. Her heart plummeted. It wasn't Lily. Not her daughter's smiling face. Not her bright blue eyes. Instead, a pale, lifeless face stared back at her, eyes wide open, a ghastly mimicry of the innocence she craved. No, she cried, jerking back, the realization chilling her to the bone. This isn't happening. The lake rippled angrily, the game shifting, darkness swallowing the edges of her vision. The sinister laughter returned, a sinister symphony of betrayal and despair, echoing through the nightmare realm of cold water and fog. Join us, the voices sang, their allure binding her tighter. Emma's world tipped. The realization gripped her like a venomous snake. She'd entered a trap woven by secrets, lessons learned the hard way about the price of curiosity, how the lake possessed a hunger that could consume more than just the innocent die in horror. Her mind flashed back to the whispers of the townsfolk. The lake gives and takes. Be careful what you seek. But she had never believed. And now, as shadows curled around her, reality slipped further from her grasp. Suddenly, a sharp tug at her ankle sent her spiraling into darkness. As she sank deeper, vision blurring and panic rising, she clutched desperately at the unseen, fighting against oblivion. And then she saw it, a figure standing at the water's edge, luminous within the fog. It looked familiar. Lily, but as the light flickered, revealing the figure's true face, dread surged within her. Was this a cruel hope or something far more terrifying waiting to be unveiled? Emma felt the water tighten around her, an invitation to a reckoning. What if the entity beneath the lake had only begun to lay its claim? As darkness became her only companion, the sinister question hung thick in the air. Who would rise with her, and who would remain lost? Forever to the depths? Emma's heart raced as she felt the cold fingers of the lake's depths pull her down, each movement becoming a battle against the suffocating darkness. The familiar figure at the shore began to morph, slowly revealing ghastly features that twisted hope into despair. This wasn't Lily. It was a specter of anguish, an embodiment of the lake's relentless pull. Help me, she screamed, but the words crystallized in the water, drowned out by the chorus of laughter swelling from the shadows. The chilling sound made her blood run ice-cold. The darkness whispered of lost souls, stories of those who had vanished without a trace, echoing in her mind like a relentless alarm. Suddenly, from the depths, a glimmer of something hard and metallic caught her eye. It gleamed through the murky water, a promise laced with peril. Emma fought against the grip of despair, reaching down with frantic fingers. She wrapped her hand around the cold object, a locket, scratched and tarnished, with a picture inside that made her breath catch in her throat. This wasn't just any locket. It bore the likeness of her own daughter. Lily, she gasped, the name ripped from her throat as tears filled her eyes. But as the world around her blurred, she saw the edges of the vision shift. Instead of Lily's bright smile, it faded into the haunting face of the stranger she had just seen. The forest shadows began to dance rhythmically, entrancing her, dragging her deeper into the water with every beat. No, Struggling against the sinking grip, Emma pulled the locket close to her chest. It thudded against her heart, and in that moment of panic, she heard a whisper echo in her mind. She has been here before. Suddenly, the water released her. Emma shot toward the surface, gasping for air as she breached the surface. The fog rolled back as if hesitant, revealing the shoreline now bathed in weak moonlight. But she was not alone. Arrayed before her stood the figures from the trees, their gaunt faces twisted with malevolence, eyes glowing like lanterns in the night. "Join us," they sang again, but now it was different, their voices saturated with an insatiable hunger. The draw of their harmony tugged at her soul, beckoning her to join their wretched chorus of lost souls. Panic struck her heart anew. She could feel the locket's weight, a curse more than a charm, pulling her back toward the depths. "Leave me," she screamed, backing away, clutching the locket tighter as she stumbled on the rocky shore. "You cannot escape what is yours," one figure crooned, stepping forward, its skin stretched tight over bone. "You woke us, and now we feast." With a desperate glance, Emma spotted a nearby rowboat. She lunged for it, fingers trembling as she clambered inside, dragging the locket with her. But as she looked back, the shore was now filled with merciless figures, closing in. Their mouths stretched wide in grins that didn't belong to the living, each one searching for her. The thick fog rolled back in, drowning out the moonlight once more. Emma could hardly breathe as terror clawed at her throat. She snatched the oars poised against the side of the boat and began to row, furiously glancing back at the nightmarish forms that began to stride toward the water's edge, joining hands in a grotesque ritual. "Come back," they called, voices echoing with an unnatural blend of seduction and threat. "We are waiting." Emma's heart hammered against her ribs as she fought the waves, racing toward whatever might lie ahead, whatever escape she could find. But deep down, she felt an unsettling certainty. The lake wasn't finished with her yet. It would seek her out, carry its secrets, and reveal horrors yet to come. In that moment, she realized the dreadful truth. The locket was a key, and she hadn't just stirred the lake's hunger. She had awakened something far more powerful. The shadows shifted again, and her gut twisted as the figures submerged beneath the water, their haunting eyes fixated on her retreating boat. Somewhere deep within the lake's depths, a ripple stirred, far more sinister and vast than a mere collection of lost spirits. What had she truly uncovered, and where was Lily? As the mist began to swirl again, she grasped the oars tighter, pushing against the dread rising within her. The quest was far from over. Each heartbeat was pulled taut against the darkness. If she was to find her daughter, she would have to face whatever horrors lurked below the surface. Fear took root in her chest, whispering an ominous truth perhaps. She was not the first to seek the lake's secrets, and she might not be the last. Emma's hands shook as she rowed, each stroke sending ripples into the moonlit water. The figures on the shore vanished, then reappeared in her peripheral vision, flickering like faulty lights. Faces morphed into sinister grins, haunting echoes practically vibrating between her ears. They were relentless, pursuing her as if bound to the lake itself, determined to claw her back. Desperation bathed her in sweat, but fear was an insatiable beast. Tension hung in the air, thick and suffocating. The locket, a promise of her daughter, felt more like a shackle. She could barely remember the soft voice of Lily, yet it resonated in her heart. "What happened to you, sweetheart? Where are you?" Her eyes darted, scanning the dark waters for any sign, any hope. The fog clung to the surface like a cloak, distorting shapes that felt almost familiar. And then splashes. Something broke the surface nearby, sending her heart racing again. She whipped around, expecting to see something dreadful, but only ripples betrayed a presence. A shadow moved deeper underwater, lingering just out of sight. "Come back," those voices called again, their tones harmonizing in a haunting melody that danced on the edges of her sanity. A feverish line of thought struck her. Could the locket be the key to finding Lily? Each frantic stroke of the oars only fueled her determination. She had to dig deeper into this mystery, even if it led her to that darkness again. As she focused, sudden flashes of memories overwhelmed her. Coral blue eyes sparkling, laughter like wind chimes, joy coursing between them like the current beneath her boat. The warmth faded, replaced by creeping dread as she recalled the forgotten stories shared during whispered bedtime tales. Don't trust the water, Emma. It never gives back what it takes. A shudder ran through her body. What if the stories she thought were just tales were rooted in truths buried long ago? The boat rocked as if something beneath was stirring, a disturbance that sent ripples of wet terror crawling up her spine. Emma glanced overboard, heart threatening to explode in her chest. A darker shape began to loom beneath her, growing larger, moving with purpose. She gasped. How deep did this lake go? What horrors were marinating in its depths? The locket clattered against the boat's bottom like a heartbeat in sync with her own, vibrant with life and sorrow. She reached for it, feeling the intricate designs, tracing its contours with desperate fingers. If this brings me closer to you, I'll dive back into this nightmare. The water erupted, and she recoiled as a massive figure breached the surface. Only for a split second, a dark, shimmering mass adorned with glistening scales and jagged edges. Then it vanished, leaving behind a silence wrapped in menace. Emma swallowed hard, eyes wide, realizing whatever resided beneath was not alone. The path back to the shore felt treacherous, laden with more than just secrets. Shadows gathered at the water's edge, awaiting, waiting. Whispers followed her, coaxing her to join the figures. She could almost hear the soft lilt of the ones lost. They sang of union, of blending into the lake forever, of abandoning the world above. The thought crawled into her thoughts, infecting her will to fight. A fierce wind whipped her hair around her face. No, she screamed, flailing against the ominous grip of despair. With renewed fury, she rowed harder, driven by a single thought: find Lily. Then the locket began to heat, radiating warmth as if possessed by its own spirit. It pulsed like a living thing against her palm, sending shivers of revelation coursing through her. Something was awakening, a connection lurking beneath the surface, and for the first time, she felt it. A pull, a draw. Emma's breath snagged in her throat as the water began to bubble violently, churning wildly around her boat. She could no longer tell if the lake was angry or alive. What do you want from me? She shouted into the swirling darkness. And with that, a piercing silence fell. The boat tilted precariously as if the lake held its breath. All eyes upon her. She felt it, an answer awaited her in the depths. She had disturbed something that was never meant to be found. But the question lingered, echoing in that quiet space. Was she prepared to dive into terror itself to uncover the truth? As the night deepened, she continued to row, the weight of the locket now unbearable, each stroke carrying her closer to a fate she couldn't foresee. The water erupted again, this time with a ferocity that nearly flipped the boat. Emma's heart pounded in her chest like a drum as she struggled to maintain her balance. She could feel the cold embrace of fear wrapping around her, squeezing tighter with every moment. The dark shape beneath her surged upward, breaking the surface again, and Emma caught a glimpse of something monstrous. Scale after scale, glistening with the lake's murky depths. It had large, haunting eyes that seemed to pulse with a life of their own. The sight made her stomach churn violently. Lily! She screamed, the name tearing from her throat as if it could break the spell holding her. But the water only rippled in response, mocking her desperation. The whispers returned, this time louder and more insistent. It wants you, join us, come home. They twisted around her, a chorus of longing and despair. It felt as if the lake were reaching for her, its icy fingers brushing against her skin in a chilling caress. The locket in her hand grew hot, its heat spreading up her arm like a wildfire. Was it the lake's power? Or had she stumbled upon something far worse than she had imagined? Clenching it in her fist, she felt clarity burst through the haze of terror. If I dive, if I truly dive, I can find you, Lily, she shouted into the abyss, though fear gripped her heart. With a single, desperate breath, Emma leaned forward. She didn't grasp the oars. She was past that, teetering on the edge. The boat creaked ominously under her weight, a harbinger of doom. Suddenly, a massive wave surged up, crashing against the side of the boat, forcing her back. She stumbled, the locket nearly slipping from her fingers. But she didn't give in. The visions of her daughter's laughter, of sunny days at the park, flooded her mind. She would not yield to this malevolent force. Taking another breath, this one deeper, she flung herself overboard. The shock of cold seared her senses as she plunged into the depths. Water enveloped her like a heavy quilt, pulling her down, down, down into the darkness. Panic gripped her, but somewhere beneath the surface, she could feel the warmth of the locket guiding her, pulling her forward. She pushed through the fear, fighting for clarity, for light. 1,000 sensations washed over her, sharp bites of cold, the weightlessness of the water, and an echoing call that felt almost familiar. Then, out of the gloom, shapes swirled around her. Shadows danced at the periphery, their features indistinct, but she felt their eyes on her, hungry and waiting. Emma forced herself to swim deeper, not to be consumed by them, but pulled by a clearer vision now. Her daughter, nestled in animated bubbles, her coral blue eyes shining with warmth. The clarity of the locket surged to life, igniting the murky surroundings like fireworks in the night sky. "Lily, I'm here." Emma's voice reverberated through the water, though she couldn't tell if it carried. The figures in the deep drew closer, glowing eyes reflecting a vibrant light that seemed to beckon her. She caught fleeting glimpses of faces, ones she recognized, swirling in the depths, their grins betraying no good. The shadows closed in, whispering again, "Come back, join us." Desperation clawed at Emma's lungs. She needed to fight through the fear to find her daughter, to rescue her from whatever evil had woven itself into the fabric of this place. Suddenly, the locket's light flickered, dimming as if losing its power. She strained against the pressure of the water. Every inch fought for as tendrils of darkness reached for her. The deeper she went, the stronger the pull became, as if she were tethered to something ancient and powerful. Would the locket reveal its secrets? Or would she too be another lost soul beneath the lake? As dread seeped into her bones, something seized her, dragging her further down. She gasped, grasping at nothingness, realizing whatever lay below was no longer just a story. What awaited her in the blackened depths? Would the truth unleash further horrors? Or was the lake's terror something she could still escape? Emma's mind raced, her heart pounding as she desperately fought to unearth the truth before it was too late. Emma's heart thundered in her chest as she was yanked deeper into the frigid abyss. The shadows tightened their grip, and panic blazed through her veins. She kicked frantically, hoping to break free from their unseen hold, but they only coiled tighter, pulling her toward the darkness below. Whatever thrived in this lake was awakening, hungry for more than just her fear. Emma could feel the weight of ancient eyes watching her from the depths. She could almost hear their whispers, a crooning lullaby that promised peace, that beckoned her to surrender. "Join us," it echoed, pulling at the edges of her sanity. Dread churned in her stomach as she fought a losing battle against the tenacity of her resolve. Memories of Lily flickered in her mind, the last time she saw her sweet face, filled with joy. It sparked a fire deep within Emma, a desperate urge for survival. "Lily!" She screamed again, the sound muffled and distorted by the water. Would her daughter even hear it? Would she have any clue that her mother was fighting tooth and nail to reclaim her? Just as the shadows seemed on the cusp of swallowing her whole, the locket flared back to life, casting a radiant glow that pierced the watery darkness. For a fleeting moment, Emma felt buoyant, weightless, as if the light propelled her upward. The tendrils of gloom recoiled, hissing in rage as she surged toward the surface. Air. The thought echoed in her mind like a lifeline as her lungs burned fiercely. She clawed her way up, breaking the surface into a gasp of cold night air. Water clung to her like an unwelcome blanket, heavy with secrets and despair. But the horror wasn't over. Above her, ripples danced like laughter, taunting her. Emma turned toward the boat, but it was now further away, as if the lake itself had played a cruel trick. The darkness whispered again, waves crashing against her. She could still hear their soft voices brushing through the wind, a ghostly serenade. "You cannot leave, you belong here now." Her fingers tightened around the locket, its warmth a stark contrast to the chill dancing on her skin. With a lurch, the water shifted beneath her, and she felt something large and unseen. The monstrous shape she'd glimpsed before was near, prowling in the depths, smelling her fear. Then she noticed it a shimmer just beneath the surface, something reflecting the locket's light, beckoning her. Emma stopped, her heart racing anew, torn between dread and the glimmer of hope. Could it be a way back to Lily? Or was it yet another trap set by the horrors below? The shape rose slowly, and Emma held her breath. Terror twisted her stomach into knots as the creature's contours sharpened in the glow. She could barely believe her eyes. It was a face, an anguished expression familiar but twisted, a warped version of once-known features. Emma, the name spilled from the twisted visage like liquid ice, echoing around her. It wasn't just any face, it was Lily's, submerged, distorted by the lake's pull. With a piercing scream, Emma kicked towards the boat, the shimmer gone, replaced by the darkness once more. Her heart raced as terror clawed at her back. She had to reach the boat. She had to escape before whatever lay below could pull her down again. But the water thrashed violently, each wave a menacing reminder of the force that governed this cursed lake. If this was a nightmare, she refused to wake up trapped in it. What had she unleashed? As she fought against the current, a deep rumble roiled through the depths, reverberating through her bones. The lake was alive, and it sensed her fear and her desperation. A sudden pull yanked at her legs, dragging her down again. She gasped as the chill seeped back into her very core. Would she be lost like so many before her? Or could she outsmart the darkness? The boat, the locket, and Lily, everything entwined as they descended back into the murky unknown. Emma was running out of time. The darkness roared with hunger, and she sensed it wouldn't stop until it claimed her as its own. The grip of the water tightened around Emma like a vice, pulling her deeper, deeper. Panic surged as she clawed at the glistening surface, bubbles escaping her lips in frantic bursts. She could feel the darkness below writhe and coil, hungry and eager. The name Lily echoed in her mind, driving her to fight even harder against the unforgiving pull. With one desperate kick, she felt something catch her foot. She was yanked backward into the cold, murky depths, the overwhelming pressure crushing her chest. The world above faded into a dim memory as she tumbled into the abyss, vision flickering like a dying light bulb beneath the surface. And then, silence. A deafening hush enveloped her, broken only by the rhythmic pounding of her heart in her ears. But just beneath that silence, she heard it, the low, guttural growl, a sound that vibrated through the water, wrapping around her like a shroud. It was closer now, lurking in the shadows, waiting for her to succumb. Emma forced herself to focus. She wheeled around, her pulse racing, straining to catch a glimpse of whatever was hunting her. The locket, glowing fiercely, hadn't abandoned her. Instinctively, she clutched it closer to her chest, hoping its light would ward off the darkness. Suddenly, she was thrust upward, the current propelling her toward the surface. Gasping, she broke free once more, the night air harsh against her lungs. But no sooner had she surfaced than she felt it again, the water swirling with renewed ferocity, angry at her defiance. "Lily!" She cried out again, desperation bleeding into her voice, carrying her plea into the void. "I'm coming." But the ripples answered her with laughter, a cruel, mocking sound that echoed around her, reminding her of the horrors lurking beneath. And a single heartbeat. The boat loomed closer, but it was still beyond her reach. The darkness clawed at her ankles, relentless and unforgiving, as razor-like tendrils surged from below, trying to pull her back down. Emma screamed. With every ounce of strength left in her, she kicked hard. Each stroke felt like a battle, the water heavy and choking. The boat was so close, yet the shadows were pulling her legs, dragging her toward the depths once more. It was a race against the weight of despair, against the lure of death. Just then, a vision pierced through the fog of fear, a flash of Lily's face, glowing with innocence and love, tugging at her heart. She couldn't let her down. She couldn't be swallowed whole by this insatiable darkness. With renewed determination, Emma surged forward, reaching, grasping, fingertips barely brushing the boat's edge. But the water surged again, slathering around her spine, dragging her backward with a force that threatened to shatter her will. Emma gasped, clinging to the side of the boat as the shadows below howled in fury. Thunder rumbled, a rumble that penetrated the lake's depths, the very source of her terror awakening. The locket pulsed a warm light, momentarily dispelling the darkness. In that moment, she saw it a pair of eyes, luminous, watching her with an ancient hunger. The creature was real, monstrous, and intent on making her its prey. "Please," she begged, her voice barely a whisper. The water swirled again, and she felt herself slipping. The cries of the lost echoed around her, voices of those who had come before, desperately calling out for help, begging not to be forgotten. And then, within the void, a new realization emerged. A secret buried beneath the lake. Could it be the answer? A way to reclaim Lily and escape this hell? Emma clung to that thought like a lifeline, each pulse of the locket urging her forward, propelling her back toward the surface, onward to the boat. But the darkness wouldn't let her go easily. It roared and lashed at her, fierce and unyielding. And just as her fingers touched the edge of the boat again, the shadows erupted from the depths, revealing a shattered reflection of herself. "Help me," she cried, but the murky water swallowed her plea. With a jolt, Emma was beneath the surface once more, dazed and disoriented. The shadows surged and whispered sweetly about surrender. A terrible choice lay before her. Fight to save her daughter or succumb to the enticing calm of the darkness. Knowing she might never see Lily again, she slipped deeper into despair. She remembered the eyes, the secrets, and the truth hidden beneath the waters. In that moment of desperation, Emma grasped the locket tightly. She had to learn its secret. Would it lead her back to her daughter, or was it just another trap? Danger loomed, but could she navigate the darkness without losing herself? Time was slipping away, and the lake lurked, ready to claim her. Emma's heart raced, the locket's faint glow pulsing against her chest like a frantic heartbeat. The darkness around her thickened, and with each passing second, the whispers grew louder, taunting her resolve. "What do you want from me?" she screamed, her voice breaking against the weight of the water. But the only response was the chilling echo of her own words, twisted into mockery by unseen forces. She could feel tendrils from the shadows brushing against her skin, cold and wrong. The tendrils wrapped around her limbs, constricting, pulling her deeper into the abyss. Emma fought against them, thrashing with all her might. With each movement, the water swirled violently, as if it were a living entity, and the dark growl grew closer, vibrating through her. And then she remembered the locket, the key. In a flash, she understood that its light had drawn her through the nightmare. But could it also unlock the truth? "Show me," she urged, clutching it tightly, willing it to reveal its secrets. The locket flared, transforming the surrounding murk into a twisted reflection of memories. Faces emerged and faded, intermixed with horrific silhouettes painted by despair, a montage of forgotten souls who had succumbed to the lake. Each one bore an expression of terror, an echo of her own. They reached out, their fingers brushing against the surface of her memory. "Help us," some whispered, a cacophony of voices rising above the horrid growl. Emma's breath hitched. The realization hit her. These were the voices of the lost, pleading for release. Was Lily among them? Stop," Emma shouted, spitting out mouthfuls of murky water. She had to focus. If she could just make sense of the chaos, she could save her daughter. She had to believe Lily was still there, trapped but alive. The locket pulsated with intensity, sending white-hot light cutting through the darkness. Shadows lifted, momentarily revealing the bottom of the lake, a vast expanse littered with abandoned relics, old toys, weathered photographs, a child's locket, glinting dimly in the depths. "Mommy!" A voice, soft and crystalline, broke through the darkness. Lily's voice. "No, God, it couldn't be." Emma whipped around, searching the shadows frantically. "Lily, Where are you? But the very waters around her froze. The laughter faded into mournful whispers. It felt as if the lake itself was holding its breath. The shadows pulled back, allowing a glimpse of something large and dark lurking beneath. It stirred with a predatory grace, as if it were toying with her, threatening to unleash its fury at any moment. The locket's light faltered, and Emma felt her knees weaken as doubt invaded her mind. How could she fight this creature? How could she save her child? But as if sensing her hesitation, the shadows surged, razor-thin tendrils snaking tighter around her waist, sending sharp jolts of pain through her body. With a surge of desperation, Emma once more willed the locket to reveal the truth, demanding that it teach her how to fight back. The air grew dense, filled with electric tension, as if the lake's very essence was shifting under her, morphing into something new. And just then, she felt a flicker inside her, an ember of rage igniting. "Enough!" she screamed, her own voice almost unrecognizable. With one furious motion, she thrust the locket into the water. It emitted a blinding light, piercing the darkness like a knife. The entire lake trembled as the shadows recoiled, the surface fracturing into ripples that reached toward the shoreline. And then, she knew, the lake wasn't just a trap. It was tied to her in ways she had yet to understand. As new tendrils of hope intertwined with her fear, a single question loomed. What price would she have to pay to navigate the dark waters and save her daughter? The locket began to glow brighter than ever, beckoning her toward the depths in a mix of terror and tantalizing revelation. Would uncovering ancient truths expose the way to save Lily, or would it seal her fate among the drowned? The shifting waters surged in answer, hungry to reveal their secrets. Emma surfaced, buoyed by the locket's light cascading around her like a shield against the darkness. Heart racing, she squinted through the shadows, desperately seeking her daughter. "Lily," she called again, a fierce impulse driving her forward. The darkness was recoiling from the locket's glow, but she knew it was only temporary. The lake shook with a terrible force, thrashing at the boat behind her. She felt the urgency building within her, threatening to ignite her fears anew. The rippling waters surged, and for a fleeting moment, she glimpsed the faces of those who had been lost, all those who had trusted the lullabies sung by the lake. Taken beneath its surface, and she heard Lily's voice again, floating lightly on the wind. Mommy Emma felt the tendrils of despair tightening around her, clawing for her like a vulture waiting for its prey. Yet, as her grip on the locket tightened, a surge of strength fueled her will to resist. She shuddered, the weight of the chaos pressing against her chest. "I won't lose you, sweet girl," she yelled, determination clear in her voice. The locket pulsed like a heartbeat against her palm, syncing with the rhythm of her frantic pulse. It felt like revelation and resonance were trapped within its intricate patterns, waiting to be freed as she propelled herself further into the depths. She could sense the entity that lurked beneath, its presence looming, sentient, hungry. But she couldn't afford to falter. In that moment, clarity struck. She was bound to this lake. It held her past and her future, twined like roots in its dark soil. With each stroke, she fought against the darkness, urging the locket to show her the way. "Light, guide me," she shouted, her voice mingling with the frantic bubbles escaping her lips. Then, the light responded, expanding into a radiant halo that reached out like fingers dancing through the abyss. Shapes began to form in the blinding glow, the reflections of children's laughter and innocence, splitting apart the mists of fear. There, a flash of yellow, her daughter's shirt. Emma surged forward, already sprinting towards her hope, blinding the shadows that tried to ensnare her in their sorrowful grasp. The laughter grew louder, not sinister anymore, but warm, familiar. "Mommy!" Lily's voice was clear as day, spinning through the void like a shimmering thread reaching for her. "Hang on, baby, I'm coming," Emma screamed, fear clawing at her throat as she plunged deeper. Shadows circled closer, but they couldn't touch her. The light melted the darkness away, revealing Lily among a swirl of ethereal, shimmering figures. Emma's heart ached with the sight, her sweet daughter swimming toward her, laughter spilling from her lips like sunlight. But just as their fingers almost touched, A deep tremor shook the lake and the figures around Lily twisted, shadows merging into one familiar entity filled with rage. "No! Keep away from her!" Emma yelled, bursting forward. "You can't take her!" The creature's form coalesced into a visage of lurking sadness and hunger, eyes like black holes absorbing the light she carried. "She belongs to the lake now," it hissed. "You should have heeded the warnings." Terror gripped Emma, but she remembered the locket's promise. "Lily, I'm here," she called again, drowning out the darkness that laughed menacingly. With sheer will, she held the locket high, summoning the glow brighter than she had ever known. "I refuse to let you take her." A surge of warmth pulsed through the locket, and in that moment, Emma sensed the ancient wisdom trapped within, the key to her daughter's release. She had to face the lake, not as an enemy, but as a bearer of truth. "Show me," she commanded, thrusting the locket forward. "What must I do?" As light engulfed the water, she felt the depths shifting and swirling. Tendrils pulled away, fragments of sorrow lifting like mist in sunlight. The dark entity screamed, thrashing as the voices of the lost took on a new tone, soaring, freeing. Above the chaos, she saw Lily's delighted face, fear melting away as bright light enveloped her. Emma fought against the shadow's last desperate attempt to reclaim what was rightfully hers. "You will not hold her." The locket glowed blindingly, illuminating everything around them. Emma synchronized her heartbeat with the flow of light, the locket revealing secrets long buried away to bind the lake's hunger with love, channeling a protective warmth around her and her daughter. "Together," she shouted at Lily, reaching out. "Take my hand." The bond between them surged like a shockwave, pulling Lily from the depths, the specter shrieking in defeat. "No!" it cried, but the light expanded, forming a protective barrier. Emma's heart raced as their fingers connected, warmth flooding through them. "Now!" Emma gasped, summoning the final push of light and love, sending it crashing into the dark depths. Suddenly, a tremendous roar shook the lake, churning wildly in upheaval. Waters erupted and collapsed, reshaping the lake's body, revealing what lay hidden in its depths. The whispers faded, the darkness dissipated like smoke lost to the wind. The surface settled, calm returning, bright as day breaking. Emma and Lily floated together, clinging to each other, breathless but alive. The boat drifted back toward them, calm beneath the moonlight. Emma clutched the locket, its glow now dimmed, a token of their battle against despair. The lake had shown them its torment, but they had triumphed with love. "Well, here we are," Emma sighed as she beheld her daughter. Relief washed over her, gilding their connection. "No more games, Lily. We're done with the lake." As the mist receded completely, leaving the night still and quiet, Emma felt warmth spread within her heart, a hope stronger than the shadows of yesterday. Lily smiled brightly. "Are we safe, Mommy?" "Always," Emma promised, cradling her daughter. "Always." They boarded the boat, moving away from the secrets of the lake, forging a pathway back toward life. The shadows just memories behind them as they glided away. Two figures appeared on the shore, the neighbors she had once been wary of. They smiled, the hollow gaze gone, replaced by understanding. In this moment of release, Emma knew she would be free from the past, free from the lake's haunting grip. "Let us move forward, one step at a time," she whispered to Lily, knowing the battle against the darkness had been won. And so they sailed under the moonlight, leaving behind the haunted waters and the echoes of old sorrows, their hearts free to embrace the warmth of the dawn. If you loved this conclusion, you need to subscribe now. Smash that like button now to keep the algorithm alive and thriving. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about Emma and Lily's journey. And don't wait even one more second to share this incredible story with at least 5 friends who need to see this ending. Let's build a community that dares to dive into the unknown together.